Welcome to another episode of Detox Your Mind. Got me here, Detox. You got comedian Clever right there,
Let's go.
right? So, if you didn't catch it from the first two episodes, Detox Your Mind is about being able to come to the table, have civil conversations
Civility.
about interesting or divisive topics.
For sure.
So here we go. We started before cameras were rolling. We were talking about fascism a little bit again. Talking,
Again, it's me, guys.
yeah.
Hi, me.
Uh,
I'm on my soapbox.
in the past week, a news article came out about these 10 guys that plotted to kidnap the governor. Is the governor, right?
Governor, yeah.
Governor of Michigan. And so, Clever hit me up, was like, what I think of this. Personally, I don't think it's fascist. I don't think you can classify it as fascist just yet. Hopefully not ever. I think it's a particular group of people that they doing some dumb shit. Luckily, the FBI caught wind and captured them before anything serious happened.
Yeah.
So, your thoughts, man?
Yeah, like, so, I don't, we've talked about fascism a little bit, on the podcast. And you're the first person I hit as soon as I told you, as soon as I heard about it, as soon as I found out. And I wasn't necessarily trying to label this as an example of fascism, but more so talking about it taking roots here in our country. I didn't want to make some one example be the broad. I don't do stuff like that. But it was like, hey, this is the spirit. This is the spirit of a nation being called into question right now. And I'm not just talking about with the election. I'm just saying in general. This is the spirit, the soul of a nation being brought to the forefront to try to protect something as fragile as democracy, as a republican, or not republican, but a democracy, republic democracy. And it's like, I don't know if we're passing that test.
So what do you think is the root of it?
There's so much. It would be hard to identify one root cause. There are several contributing factors, I think. People having economic hardships, the changing of the landscape of the workforce, the ever-changing landscape of just people in this country, right? Obviously, a lot of people say leadership, starts from the top down. So we're talking about the attitudes of leaders, the beliefs and moral compasses of leaders certainly plays into it as well. I mean, I don't sit around bashing Donald Trump like that because I know that 50% of the voting population supported him. So we should be speaking more towards that population and how they feel than worried about somebody who, in my opinion, just literally has no idea what's going on ever. Like, don't even focus on that. What did 50% of the voting population feel like he represented, and then maybe get into what those concerns are there and how to address that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? So like, but in terms of this kidnapping, there's always a tweet, right? There's always a tweet, and when the leader of the free world says something like, liberate Michigan, he could have been talking about just trying to get the governor to not have a mask mandate or go out there and fight the mask mandate or the quarantine mandates. He could have been saying that, but as a dog whistle, what other people might hear is liberate Michigan. Like that's why you have to choose your words carefully when you're the leader of the free world. Me and you can be way more reckless because I am the leader of Orange Avenue. That's why I live. Right. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the leader of the free world. Like there's no. You have to choose your words carefully. That's all I'm saying.
I think when it comes to this particular presidency, that we we do one of two things. Either we give him too much credit or we give him too little.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is we go out there and say, oh, Donald Trump, he's an idiot, he's stupid, so on and so forth. But yet, then we want to attribute, these dog whistles and stuff that, I mean, if we're saying he's stupid, you really think he's smart enough to put out a dog whistle?
Yes.
Or, or he could just be that intelligent to put these things out there, and we're still here calling him stupid, calling him a moron, an idiot. So I don't think it's one or the other. I do regard him in a genius in some aspects, as I mean, the man knows how to brand stuff, right?
Okay.
I mean, he's been in the public eye from before I was born,
Sure.
right? And there was a certain point in time that it was Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that, the
Yeah.
90s, everything was branded Trump this,
For sure.
right?
Yeah.
And so he has a brand, even though he may have had numerous businesses fail, he's still found a way to make money through all of that, right? So I think that there is a certain regard in which he's a genius. I mean, I think Mozart is a genius, but that doesn't mean he could solve, quantum physics,
For sure.
right? So I think just, and this goes with anybody, not just the president. I know president is hot topic and gets people really antsy about it, but I think every single person, when you're talking about things that they do, I think you need to break down those particular things that they do and then say, hey, whether it's good or bad. Because I also see people go out there and say, hey, he does something good, even though if it's something good, they still want to rag on him for it, right? I mean, if it's good, call it good. If it's bad, call it bad.
Sure.
And that's my stance on the whole.
Yeah, I don't,
presidency.
So many levels to this. So, like, it just is. Because, news media will sensationalize things. And I don't want to sound like somebody who's just bashing the media, because there's enough of that going on. That's very trendy, which is also part of, the birth of, that's what fascist regimes do. Anyways, because if you have a distrust of the media, then the media can't report anything.
But what if they cause themselves to be?
But they played a role in it.
Yeah.
For sure, because we have money and advertising dollars in the news. So they need for you to watch. They need for you to click. They need for you to do all. They need for you to share. Like, I understand that, but to also make the media in particular who doesn't support you the enemy is fascist. That's what they do. That is what authoritarians do. It is so that they can control the narrative.
I don't know, because I think the media, both sides of the media, have also played a role into, and when I say the media, I mean like the news media. Like, whatever topic comes about, they twist the facts of the matter to lean in their favor, rather than presenting the facts as they are and allowing the people to then form my own opinion about the actual facts.
Sure, that's happened, but I don't know if it's happening that much.
No, I don't think it's happening.
I don't know if it's happening that
No,
much.
I think now the news media is, on either side, is so very biased. I think there was a point in time that even though there was some bias, there was a lot more truth in the news.
There are still solid sources.
There are.
But there will be, but people don't. We get in our echo chambers and we gonna select the sources that support narratives that we already mess with. Like, that's the culture. That's the culture now.
Yeah.
Right? And again, even to go back to what you were saying about, is Donald Trump smart or is he an idiot, right? If he's literally parroting things that he watches on his news sources.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if he's having any thought processes as he's just, because, and anybody can go look this up. There'll be some sort of showcase or headline segment on Fox News from a Hannity or a Glenn Beck on his own source, or Alex Jones on InfoWars, and then the president just repeats it. So again, and I don't. So like I said, I don't know how smart he is.
But is him repeating it
He just repeats
smart? No, I mean, is him repeating it smart or idiotic? I mean, because it all depends on what your goal is in putting something out there, right?
Sure.
And if it accomplishes your goal, doesn't that make you smart?
No, not if you have to recant it 24
Oh,
hours
I
later.
mean that's different. But I mean,
Not if you have to walk. If you got to walk it back 24 hours later because your administration has come to you and your aid, people have come to you and be like, no, you got to say something else.
but
it's
I mean, if you walking it back, I mean, does that? I mean, you could question whether or not that accomplished the goal you originally set for it to do.
In the galaxy, sure. You know, in the universe of realm of possibility, okay. You know, but again, just without going into a whole Trump spell, there's no need. I am constantly worried about something so fragile as the type of democracy that we have, because once it's gone, it's gone. Like this won't be Mussolini, Italy. If fascism takes place here, it'll be our own version of it. It will. It'll be American fascism. You know what I mean?
I don't think as a country we would get to fascism.
You say that, but how many people got upset when mailboxes were being taken away and sorting machines were being destroyed? Like, did anybody march about that?
No, but then again, in some instances,
That doesn't blow your mind?
No, it doesn't, because I actually
blew my
mind.
Blew my
The
mind.
machines being destroyed. I don't know what that is exactly. I don't know
The
about
sorting
that.
machine?
Yeah, the sorting machines.
Yeah.
I haven't heard about that or
Oh
anything
yeah,
like that.
they
But the mailboxes being removed. Mailboxes have been being removed for years. People just make noise about it now because the whole mail-in ballot stuff.
Tell me more about mailboxes being removed for years in areas where they were.
No,
Alright.
there have been. You could go look it up. Mailboxes have been being removed because the post office hasn't been making a lot of money. I mean, Amazon has been the only company that's been sustaining the USPS.
That's true.
Right.
That part.
And so other people not using it, they just started removing them.
No. So here's the thing, right? I'm not saying 3 mailboxes here, these 2 aren't being utilized, let's take them out.
Right.
I'm specifically talking about statistics that pointed to mailboxes being removed in areas that went for Hillary Clinton in 2016. That is a strategy. That's a strategy. And you in power, my coach used to say, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. That's what he used to say. He used to say that to me. But the fact that this is an American institution, and it was being targeted, again, in areas that went for, that's a strategy. I'm not stupid. That is a strategy.
I mean,
and for people not to be outraged was my concern. Whatever happens with the election is gonna happen with the election. When people weren't outraged, I said to myself, "Oh, this is strange.
Well,
this is strange."
Well, if that is actually happening, that is a strategy, and
That's a strategy.
And I mean, the only reason I say is because when I saw people talking about the mailboxes, I looked it up and found out mailboxes have been strategically being removed for years.
Strategically,
Yeah,
but
but for years.
But again,
even
not,
during the Obama administration.
Yeah, but not. But
Right.
again,
So-
so if we go, I bet if we go look, and we can do it later if you want to. I bet if we go look, they would be removed everywhere.
Yeah, that's why I said if like what you're saying being just removed in areas that
Went for Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah,
like
that's
that's an
strategy.
issue. That's an issue.
a strategy.
Right? But to the question I asked about what do you think the root is, and you made mention of
So much.
leader, from top down. I actually think it's from the bottom up. I think
I'm listening.
because we're a country, we're built on a foundation, and the foundation is the people, right? So the people is who put the top in place, right? I mean, we could get into conspiracies, right?
Oh,
But-
I'm not even a conspiracy
See-
theorist at all. I promise I'm not.
But what I mean is just like a house, if the foundation bad, everything gonna fall down. So here, with us, I think the people is the people are the foundation, and I think that when it comes down to the root is that we aren't having civil conversations. People
no,
are too.
yeah, we definitely
I don't know. I don't know whether it's they're afraid or hard-headed or just stuck in their own bubble
all of that.
to say, you know what? Let me talk with somebody who has a different opinion than me,
All of that.
and let's see what is where do we have common ground,
All of that.
right? Because I even saw a video. They were asking, um, they were talking about, I think, something about white privilege, and they had, going from somewhat agreed to,
Oh, I saw that
Yeah.
video. It was on YouTube.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
My son showed me that video. Shout
and
out to
it was
my
two
son.
people on different sides of it, right?
Yeah.
One went strongly disagree, one went strongly agree,
Yeah.
and then they allowed them to explain, and when they explained, like they were saying the same thing, just viewing it differently.
Sure.
And I think that under normal circumstances, had these two people had tried to have a conversation, that soon as they see that they were on opposite planes, conversation probably wouldn't have went nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
But if they actually took time to sit down and say, you know what, let's talk about this, you would find that, hey, even though we view this differently, it's half glass of water, half filled. Is it half empty or half full? You would see that you're both saying the same thing. And I think that nationally, internationally even, that when we sit down and we talk about things, we need to talk about it and just, have empathy and compassion to hear where the other person is coming from. You could disagree all you want, but at least be civilized to just hear the differing opinion, because you never know, you might agree with it.
What was interesting about what you're talking about on that YouTube series or show, I can't remember the name of what it was called. I should text my son, he would know, because he showed it to me. But in some instances, the people would be, like you said, strongly disagree and then strongly agree. Then they have a little bit of conversation, and then sometimes they would take a step closer, even if they wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like they did that a bunch. Where they would be like, oh, okay, well maybe I'm here,
Right.
instead of here, or maybe I'm, So, but yeah, just when it's hard to have conversations these days. It seems like it's a very, I don't know, it's a delicate dance, right? Because people don't want to concede anything. They are where they are. They're comfortable where they are. They've justified where they are. Why do I have to reconsider that I may be wrong on this, or that I may be off on this, or that people don't really want to do that anymore. They just rather surround themselves with other people who feel like they feel, and then just kind of go on about their business. And look, that's your prerogative if that's what you. I don't know how you ever plan to progress or advance or learn anything by acting like that, but that's what I feel like a lot of people do. They just, you know what, man, I don't rock with him because he did it. And you just surround yourself with another one of you and another one of you, and now all you hear is the stuff you already rock with. So you're not moving that hard. It's crazy.
That's like for me, it's been a while that I've even said this or talked about it, but like throughout the day, throughout the years, like just hearing the stuff that I think and I believe in and stuff like that, it is like you kind of get in your own echo chamber and stuff like that. And I heard somebody one time say, look, listen to both sides of it, because if all you're hearing is your side, you could never, even if you still believe what you believe at the end of the day, you could never combat what the other person is saying, or you could never even understand what they're trying to say if you don't ever listen to them. And then when somebody comes and brings you information, and I see it a lot with those videos where like somebody will go to a Democratic rally or a Republican rally, and they go and they ask them questions, and you could see that like the whole video is just to make the other side look stupid. And you see that they're asking these people who are just in their own circle and haven't really thought out what it is they believe.
Right.
They are just regurgitating talking points and stuff like that.
Yep.
and and somebody sends them like a gotcha question
Yeah.
because they kind of have a sense, and maybe it's just edited that way that you get the stupid people and you just edit the video that way, and just to show, hey, these people don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And when I'm watching it, I'm like that's just I got an easy answer for that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just think it's people just trying to be divisive and just wanting to be right
Yeah.
or prove the other wrong, you know.
Mhm.
Get them in those what they call them, those thug life moments in those videos. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, I like I said, people, if that's gonna be your approach, then I don't know how you're ever going to, I don't know, truly be in a place where you're informed.
Mhm.
You know, and I don't go around trying to make people agree with me. I usually just try to avoid these conversations, to be honest with you. Like, people bring stuff up like this, I don't know, I slink off into the shadows. Cause for what? Why are we even doing this? Like, you don't really want to do this. You don't really want to have this conversation. You don't really want to learn my perspective or get a better idea of my view, or where you just want to shout. You want to shout. You want to be right. You want to, you know, throw your hands up in the air and be like, I got him. Like, and what's so funny is in these situations, you're never really going to change anybody's mind. Like, I think I realized that years ago. Like, I was with one of my college roommates, and I made such a valid point. And not only did I make a valid point, I predicted what was going to happen. And I was like, let's make a bet to where there's no money involved for you. Because he would always be like, I don't bet money. I said, yeah, I'll put money up on my end. And then for you, all you got to do is like cook a meal or something like that. And he was like, okay, yeah, because I know. And of course, what I said absolutely came true. And I knocked on his door. And I was like, I had this money I was going to give you, but you was wrong. And all he could do was laugh. But it was so crazy to me because in the moment, the point I made was so extremely well thought out. And just, like, if he truly wanted to see what I was saying, all he had to do was just listen to what I was saying. Because it wasn't crazy. It was literally what I said. And he just laughed. But he didn't want, when we were having that discussion, he didn't want to hear me. He just wanted to be right.
Yeah. And I think when having conversations, like, a lot of people try to prove their point rather than have the other person prove theirs. And I think that's what you should do in a conversation. Like, listen, like, get somebody to rationalize through their argument. Like, yo, I ain't even gonna try to combat you, but you're telling me this. Why? Like, explain it out for me. So that not only what you're explaining to me that I understand, but also that I know that you understand what you're saying as well. And sometimes if you get people to do that, if you're a person that knows what they're saying is wrong, right? I can't just come and tell you you're wrong because people get defensive and they ain't even gonna hear it. But if you get them to say it themselves, like they, you know, it kind of sinks in.
That's a sales strategy you're using, as a matter of fact. That's funny. It is. It's an actual sales strategy. But I don't, you know, usually if I'm going to jump into a conversation, I have a source and like a real source or some sort of numbers. Because that way we can try not to make the conversation emotional, right? And look, there's some stuff I get emotional about, but I try not to discuss it. Because I know I'm emotional about it. I know I can get emotional about it. It's just based on some passion shit, right? So I'm not even getting to those. I'll dismiss those and be like, and just dismiss it. But if it's something, if I can jump into it, if I'm jumping into the conversation, you should know I have a source. Like, and I'm not talking about like, I have actual data from somewhere. You know what I'm saying? That can be verified in several different places. So that way, somebody won't just be like, well, you're just using this one source because they have a bias. I'm like, nah, check it here, and then check it here, and then here, and then you can also check it here. You know,
I know what you mean.
got some numbers.
I'm the same way, and it's not because I like to be right. I just don't like to be wrong.
Yeah.
So
look it up.
Exactly. Get your information, because there were a lot of times in my younger years,
Yeah.
you know, to fresh out of high school,
Yeah.
entering the college years, and
Yeah.
and I would argue stuff just because I heard it said somewhere,
Yeah.
and I kind of trusted that
Right.
person or
And-
whatever,
yeah.
and I say it, and then somebody proved me wrong, and
For
I'm
sure.
like, oh damn,
Yeah, that sucks. That
that does suck.
it
That
does
stings.
suck. Yeah, nah, I think we've all been there. I'm pretty sure we've all been there.
Yeah,
It's like,
and-
ouch, I was wrong.
And for me, I just prefer, okay, let's not let that happen again.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah.
You can always verify something. You can, and you don't need YouTube to do it. You don't need YouTube, guys. Y'all stay out of YouTube like that.
But talking about debates and winning or losing, what do you think of or did you even look at the vice presidential debate?
I watched some of it. I didn't want to tune in for too long.
What
I
you
just
thought
watched
about
some of I got a sense. I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but just the sense of calm between the two candidates, I could tell was missed.
Yeah.
Like, just, if you're gonna say anything, you can say she did this, he did this, or whatever, right? But it was just a sense of more calm. It was
It was
less,
presidential.
It was less theatric, and I was like, oh, people probably missed this. And I'm reading some articles and just different comments, and there was, no matter what side you was on, people was like, oh, that was way better than the shit show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
Oh,
and I was like, yeah, I can get it. I can dig that. They both did what they had to do. She had to look reasonable. He had to look vice presidential and informed. You know what I mean? And I feel like they both did that. I kept seeing for a minute. I was like, what's up with the fly thing that people keep talking about? I was like, is that what people are focusing on? They're focusing on a fly on somebody's head.
And I still wonder about that.
It's
man.
just silly, right? It's silly, right? But again, this is where we are, right? Where people might not be able to point out 5 things total from what was actually being discussed, but can tell you Mike Pence had a fly on his head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I saw a lot of
this is
that,
where
like
we
just scrolling through Facebook comments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I try not to argue on Facebook anymore.
No, don't do it, bro. Don't do it.
I did. I used to do it a lot,
Don't
like
do it,
years
bro.
ago, and
Bro.
it became a
There's
headache.
some
And I'm just
keyboard
like,
gangsters out there.
Yeah.
And they hard. Don't do it, bro. You're not gonna change nobody's mind.
But I've been watching and finding out that, like, reading the comments, like, people say, oh, yeah, Pence didn't say one true thing or didn't answer a question. And I hear the same thing on Kamala's side. And I'm looking at it, and I can't find nowhere where anybody could prove that point in which they stated.
No, they heard they got it from some news source, and
Exact-
then they just repeat. But this is
Yeah.
what they do. This is what people do.
It's-
This is the nature of it. I feel like they both answered questions for the most part. At least for what I told you, I didn't watch the whole thing. I think, one time Mike Pence was directly asked something, like but just once though. And he wasn't gonna answer it because it wasn't gonna put the president in a good light. So he said something else, and then the moderator didn't say, "Hey, you didn't answer the question." But that happens. Moderators aren't perfect, and then
I really wish moderators would just stick, like, when they don't answer the question, just hammer it back at them, man.
I wish they would too.
Yeah.
But moderators, they want to be moderators again. You know what I mean? And it would be cool. It would be cool if the people played a hand in selecting moderators. And I mean all the people, right? Like if you're a registered voter, you as an incentive, you get to play a role in selecting moderators. And it can be guest moderators, it could be celebrity moderators. It could be, I think people that would generate interest in voting. Right? My bad.
I want the Joe Rogan moderator. That's what I want.
Well, I'm just saying. I feel like that would be a cool little wrinkle to add to maybe give the people a chance to play a role in selecting. Because if you get enough people, registered to vote, right? Just whatever side you want, just get more people registered to vote. You could have Joe Rogan be the moderator. You could have Stone Cold Steve Austin be the moderator. I'm just saying how cool that would be crazy though. Right?
It would be.
And it would generate, it's still theatrics. People love the theatrics. They love, it would be entertaining. You're getting interest into something that has waning interest in non-Obama years. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be cool to do something like that. That would be a nice little wrinkle, I think, to maybe boost interest. But there would be a lot of powers who just don't want to boost interest. Like, they don't want to boost interest,
So what do you think of because, you know, a lot of celebrities like to step in and put out put out these little PSAs and stuff saying go vote and who they are supporting. I mean, one just came out where they had like a bunch of celebrities being naked and yeah, saying to go out there and register to vote. And I was like, what? Like I don't even get it. But okay, I don't understand what nakedness got to do with it.
So she was like naked, and then she was like,
Yeah, no, it was like a whole montage of them. They had what, Sarah Silverman, Chris Rock, the Hulk,
Okay.
what's his name, Mark Ruffalo.
oh yeah,
Yeah, like all of them, like they standing up saying, "Hey, go register to vote." And then at the end, Sarah Silverman move her hand off her tits, and then they blurred it out. I was like, okay, I mean,
Sarah, I can get it for Sarah Silverman because she wild like that. You know what I'm saying? So she just being
But-
Sarah Silverman.
but what is your take on celebrities like endorsing candidates or standing up and saying something when under normal circumstances, like they're not really in the political sphere?
Well, I think especially since like 2008, celebrities have always been involved on some aspect, but especially in '08, it seemed like celebrities got more vocal and have continued to get more and more vocal ever since, regardless of who they support. And I mean, because I remember in the 2012 election, I don't know if you remember that election season or that cycle, but Clint Eastwood was at the RNC. You remember that? Did you see that at all?
Nah, the 2012 election.
2012, Mitt Romney, Obama.
I didn't pay attention.
You didn't pay
I
attention.
got upset because I voted for Obama the first time, right?
Uh-huh.
And I sat down, like I watched all the primary debates and
Yeah.
like just watching them demolish Hillary. I was like, yo, this kid, like, yo, he's smooth,
Yeah,
bro. He
bro was smooth.
buttery. I was like, all right, cool. And watching everything and listening to everything that he said.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I could get on board with what he's saying.
Yeah.
And then when 2012 came around, over watching everything that he said from the first time, like I was just like, yo, like you ain't did nothing you say you was gonna do. Like for me, like what he was standing for, I was like, damn, yo, like that's like that to me, like because that was the first time I voted. I was like, yo, I feel swindled. I feel betrayed. I was like, what the hell, bro?
That's interesting. That's
I was like that because one of the main things I remember him saying was, you know, he by the following November he was gonna have troops out of Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And it was coming down to the time, and it was always in the news, like, troops ain't move out yet. They actually sent more troops. I
For
was
sure.
like, okay.
For sure.
Waiting, November roll around, nothing. Then he say, nah, it could be by March, nothing. I was like, yo, and you like the head of the military? Like,
Yep.
and this year to do? Like,
But-
what's
but
going on?
once you get into that room with the generals,
Yeah, so.
because you can make your promises all you want to, but you get in a
Yeah,
room with the
so-
generals, and it's like, we can't take those troops out. We need more troops. Oh, okay. So I made them promises, and
Yeah, so I felt
Blah.
I guess I felt swindled and like you know, it was my first time
Sure.
like really listening to politics, getting into politics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was like I guess that's my real dose of politicians lie.
I don't know if I would call that one a lie though.
Yeah.
I think he wanted to remove the troops,
Maybe
and
he
without
did.
knowing, because remember he was just candidate, he's
Right.
senator. So I don't. It ended up being something that he failed on for
Right.
sure, right? Because he ended up sending more troops. Because he had to send more troops, because that's what the generals told him. We need. Guess what? I heard your promises. Now that you're in the room and you see this that you weren't aware of before, we need more troops.
And then
You know what I
and then
mean?
also the second thing for me, and bruh, I know how people may feel about it. You know, I was against gay marriage,
Okay.
right? And
Okay.
so when he went into office, you know, he stood on like, yo, I go to this church all the time, yada yada.
He switched his position on
Right.
gay marriage
And-
for sure.
Yeah, and so I was
Yeah.
like, okay. And then when he switched it, I was like,
Yeah, he switched.
I was like, yo, like, like, come on. Also, I think it was he became a more, because I'm also anti-abortion. He became more pro-abortion throughout that as well. And it wasn't that he was against abortion at the beginning, but he like stayed away from the topic. Like it wasn't really something that was a real stance that he was
Yeah,
pushing for.
you're not gonna be a pro-life candidate and be a Democrat,
Yeah. So I was like,
even if you're pro-life personally.
yeah. So I was like, you know what?
Hmm?
I just stayed away from all the politics in
Yeah.
2012. I was
I
like,
got
nah.
you. Yeah, nah.
screw that.
In 2012, Clint Eastwood was at the Republican National Convention, and he was like giving Obama a lecture, but it was like a chair, and when nobody was in it, of course. But that was at the Republican National Convention. Clint Eastwood, great actor, one of the greatest directors probably in movie history, was giving a speech to an empty chair. And it was pretty remarkable to watch. So I said that to say, over the years, celebrities have gotten louder and louder about how they feel, and I don't care. I mean, just understand, as long as they understand whatever backlash comes with that is whatever backlash comes with that. Whatever you support. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of times I see, some country artists, like when Garth Brooks started being more vocal about politics, right? That's deep country, Garth Brooks, right? And then the people were starting to be like, well, he sound kind of liberal. Oh, because he liberal. You know what I'm saying? I'm not coming to your concerts. I'm not buying you. So I think when, if you're going to do something like that, they just understand the backlash that might come with it. That's it. But I don't care about them being vocal at all.
No, I don't care about them being vocal either. It just for me seems that a lot of these artists and stuff come out and they just start saying things when it seems like they're not, I guess, the it actor anymore. Like it's like they're trying to generate clout for themselves, kind of thing.
Oh, you think they clout chasing? I guess that could be true in some cases. These people are normal, man. They just famous,
true.
but they normal people.
Rich, being a comedian, right? Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
I think it was last week?
Okay.
Last week, or maybe week before, Chris Rock was on the show, right? A lot of people say SNL was trash. But then again, a lot of people have been saying SNL becoming trash over the years, too. But
it's conversation every year. SNL is still on TV. And it still does well on Saturday nights.
Did you see it?
Nah, I don't watch Saturday Night Live.
Okay. Because it was like a lot of people, they were saying like, hey, yo, is Chris Rock coming back? They looking his opening monologue and all of that, looking for it to be fire. And he fired like one or two jokes at the beginning and then got real political about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess it's just one of those things, whereas I think that is a comedy realm. Look, I'm turning into your show because I want to laugh, right? But you come into me with the politics, and I think for me it falls in the same way of sports, like the actual sport, like what people do off the field or off the court. Hey, you a celebrity, you could do whatever you want outside of your job. So it's like I turn to sports to watch sports. I want to see my Jaguars win. I don't want to see nothing about nothing. I want to go and just enjoy my football game or my basketball game or soccer or whatever sport it is you play. Now, I'm not saying that I think that people should shut up and dribble. No, like you have a mouth. Speak, say what you want to say. But I also know that, hey, I can't go to my job and say whatever it is I want politically. Because, hey, my boss can come say, yo, we ain't into none of that. You need to check your stuff at the door. If not, don't come through the door. You know what I mean? And so I guess with that being with the Saturday Night Live, I think with people always saying it's getting worse and worse is just because they're going there they have an idea of what they're going there for, but then they get something different when they get there.
Yeah, I mean, you can choose. People can choose not to watch, and I guess that's just how I feel about it. I even though people want to make me a socialist and a communist, but I'm the real capitalist. I'm the person that says let the market decide for real.
Facts.
Right?
I agree.
That's me. That's me. Even though people want to label me, so I say let the market decide for real. If Saturday Night Live is trash, it'll go away because it won't have any ratings. but it's still here, and it's gonna be here. It's just gonna be there because even though there might be some people being like, "This is not what I'm coming here to watch," a lot of people are coming there to watch that.
But I will argue that may not necessarily be the case.
What make you think that? How can Saturday
Becau-
Night Live stay on if they don't have the ratings?
Because I could name shows that had the ratings and got taken off because of their stance,
Sure,
right?
the market decided with them. That's what I'm saying.
No. It wasn't the market. They had the ratings, but it was a more conservative show with Tim Allen, Last Man Standing, right? It was on, yeah. Well, it was on ABC. It was the #1 watch show on Friday nights, right? At their season 6, still the #1 watch show on Friday nights. They decided to take it off. Tim Allen and some of his, and he like, there's a show where he has daughters and stuff like that, and he's basically the only man in the house, right? And some of his daughters have liberal views and stuff like that. He's a conservative guy, right? And it is a funny show in my opinion. He's making his jokes and stuff like that. And he came out in some of his interviews and said that the reason it was taken off was because of the conservative views of the show. And that is what he said.
Right, but what actually happened? Do we know what actually happened?
No, nobody would come out and say, the studio just said, hey, we decided to take it off. But it got picked up by Fox, and now it's back on the air.
Oh, okay.
But it took like 3 years for that to happen, you know what I mean? But
I just wonder what really happened.
I'd like to know too. But I also think that there are shows that get poor ratings and they stay on the air.
Like what?
Um,
If the TV is all about advertising dollars, I'm telling you, it's about advertising dollars. It really is. That's all TV is now, is advertising dollars. And if you can't get the right, Nielsen ratings to get those advertising dollars, you'll lose your show. I know cats who, been trying to get pilots popping for years, and people they take into consideration what kind of advertising you can bring. That is it.
Well-
literally.
well, somebody was explaining, like, with the whole Trump tax thing, right? Like, with his tax refund or whatever, right?
With his tax refund?
Yeah, apparently he, in 2016, 2017, he got or rather, he only paid $750
Oh,
in
yeah,
taxes,
I know. I'm
right?
aware. Okay.
And
yeah.
so I was actually watching a show where a guy was explaining how this happens, is that, hey, for a company, they have businesses that make money, and then they have businesses that lose money. But the losses is enough for them to, like, it's not really that they're losing money, it's basically just covering itself. And so therefore they write that off as a loss to then say, to offset the money that they're actually making on the good shows. And because they write it off, they get to kind of, bring their tax, the amount they owe in taxes down. And they were saying, like, that's how Donald Trump does it, is, hey, he'll buy a building, get some, he may buy the building for $100 million, get somebody to assess it. They come assess it and say, hey, the building's only worth $90 million. And instantly he could write $10 million off in taxes, even though, I mean, it's still an asset that you own or whatever the case is. So I think in some ways they could do things like that just to offset. But I feel that, hey, if you're going to take off a show that makes money, maybe you could keep on a show that doesn't make money because you as a showrunner is saying, these are my views, these are the views that I stand for, so I can keep this on here.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. I guess TV's pretty cutthroat though. But I mean, I guess I'll just have to look into some of these situations more. But TV's pretty cutthroat. TV is pretty cutthroat. Like, it's a lot of these studio owners, they're obviously uber rich.
Yeah.
And chances are they're uber conservative. I can't speak factually about that, but chances are they're uber conservative. But they don't care about that because they're looking at bottom lines and trying to keep studios running, right? Studio heads are filthy rich. They're rich. So they're looking at bottom lines and what's going to be good for the business, what's going to be good for the dollars. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's not beyond the pale to say that somebody has certain views and they want to see certain things. I guess that could certainly happen. But I'm telling you, it's pretty cutthroat though.
Okay.
Pretty. they'll slice you up, bro. And we'll move on. And the cool, like I guess the cool part about TV is they'll slice you up, move on, but then may circle back around to you for something else. You know what I mean? Because that's happened in so many cases. Like, hey man, I know we cut your legs off, but got some new legs. You know what I mean? Like they'll do that. They'll do that. You know what I
feel
mean?
that.
Especially the big networks. They'll do that. They'll run it. They'll run it back, man. As far as taxes go, look, I I know everybody made a big. It was funny to me to watch people make a big deal out of it because he didn't want to release them for a reason because he didn't want y'all to know this kind of stuff. Like y'all don't think he was really being audited. Like the IRS came out and was like, even though he's being audited, he can still release his tax. He just was like, I'm not gonna release taxes and y'all not gonna make me. You know what I mean? Which I thought was kind of bold. Being that it wasn't required for him to do it by law, but I just thought it was kind of bold for people that, conservatives
I wonder why
their fiscal conservativeness and y'all don't even want to see who we owe. Okay, cool.
I wonder why that's even an issue. Like, yo,
because you want to see who somebody might be tied to.
Yeah, but I mean,
if they're gonna be the leader of the
in
free
your
world.
taxes. I mean, I get understand about who you owe.
Yeah.
I completely understand that part.
Yeah.
Like, yo, if you come in the office and hey, you owe Saudi Arabia a whole bunch of money, like, yo, I don't think I need you to be president. But now,
or at least let us look into it to make sure everything.
But if you're talking completely on the taxes somebody filed, I don't understand why that should be an issue at all.
But you're gonna see who somebody owes when you see their complete financial. That's so in discovering the $750 he paid, $26 a pay period, which is great. I could never. It's not about him using the loopholes, right? I want to address the tax code. Under no circumstances should a billionaire pay $26 a pay period in taxes. I don't care what the circumstances are. I literally don't care. Whatever code they're using and loopholes they're using, we have to correct that because why does he get to pay $26 a pay period? Me and you don't pay $26 a pay period in taxes, right? And you and I didn't get a $72 million tax refund, right? Like, why am I giving $72 million to a bit? I'm like, what? That something that has to be, whatever that is, has to be fixed. I don't want billionaires paying less taxes than me. I know other people will differ in their opinions. Me personally, I don't get why I would pay more taxes than you if you're a billionaire. Literally don't give a fuck what you do. I don't care if you build a hospital on every corner. I don't care. I don't though. And maybe that makes me a selfish American. I can accept that. I can own that. On no planet should I be paying more taxes than a billionaire. And that's just how I feel. But aside from that,
are you just meaning dollar amount?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I say that because some people will be like, no, they need to pay a higher percentage.
First of all, this is where everybody will call me a communist again because I certainly believe, and I only believe this because we already did it and it worked. We already did it. We had people making more than $1 million a year paying 90% in taxes. I don't want to do that again, right? But that's how we got out of the Great Depression. That's how we got into the splendor that became the 40s and the 50s and some portion of the 60s before wars. But that's what happened.
But with that, people say
it was a 90% tax rate for those who was making over $1 million.
Yeah, but they said not a single one of those people paid 90%.
Well, of course not. Of course not. It's gonna always be adjusted down. Right. It'll always be adjusted down. But again, if you have $1 billion and I have 50,000. Why would I ever be paying? That will never make sense.
No, that's why I said percentage wise, because if, like we all know, last time we spoke about this, I said we should have zero income taxes.
Yeah,
I don't care how much
we know where you stand on taxes. You're
anarchist. Nah, it's not an anarchist. I just think we should put taxes in another way. But if we're going to have income tax, I think the fairest way to do it would just be a flat tax across the board, 10%. No loopholes, no nothing. Whatever you make, you pay 10%. You make 100 million, shell out that 10 million. You make $1 billion, shell out that 100 million. You make 50,000, shell out that $5,000. You know, and that way, everybody, like, that person is always going to pay more than you if they make more than you.
For sure.
You know, they shouldn't pay less than you if they make more than you. I agree with that. I completely agree with that. Yeah.
That's crazy to me. Now, I don't hate your flat tax idea if the world was okay.
What do you mean if the world was okay?
In a perfect world, in a perfect world, your flat tax idea works,
Okay.
but we don't live in a perfect world. So with your flat tax, right?
Mhm.
With your flat tax, if I was to add some sort of addendum, right? Well, now we got to get rid of corporate welfare, right? Now we got to
Explain. What do you mean corporate welfare?
Jeff Bezos and Amazon pay $0 in taxes. They pay $0.
I understand why they do that.
I
Right.
don't.
I understand why they pay you because again, this comes down to the loopholes, right?
Yeah, but zero.
Huh?
Again, I just told you how I feel about that.
because
He's about to be a trillionaire.
Yeah, because they could apply losses from a previous year to the following year.
They're just
Huh?
because Amazon comes to your area as part of what they negotiate with that state, and that state actually they pay $0. It's not because of loopholes. They
No.
literally just get to pay Amazon
Federal taxes?
Yeah.
How do they do that? How do they
They
negotiate
get- they- 'cause-
with the
'cause-
state for federal?
Because there's state taxes, then you got your federal taxes.
Right.
Where they go in that state, they negotiate. So when you hear about Amazon negotiating where they're gonna go, Amazon's thinking about going to Virginia. Amazon's thinking about going to Florida.
Right.
What are those states gonna do to bring in Amazon?
Right.
They're negotiating those things.
Yeah, but they're negotiating for state taxes.
For sure.
Right. Now, what a state does, like, that's separate. I'm talking strictly federal right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even on
But-
that level.
But on that level, like,
Amazon gets to pay $0 in tax.
and as I said, I don't agree with the loopholes. I don't agree with the loopholes at all. But I understand why they're able to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think all of that should be removed. And I think
that's when your flat tax would work a lot better.
right. And I think those companies should also pay a
For
flat.
sure.
Should pay a
Because
flat
it would
taxes.
work a lot better.
Yeah.
Right? We don't live in that world.
So-
We never gonna live in that world.
Why not? Why
Nah.
can't we?
Lobbyists won't allow that. You gonna undo Citizens United? You gonna get rid of Citizens United so we can get all the lobbying money out of Washington, D.C.? Then maybe you have a chance to get this legislation through. Until then, that legislation will never go through because private entities will be in the background working against you 24/7. And they're gonna outspend you 20-1. You're gonna lose. They're buying votes. You'll never get the legislation through.
And then
I talk to people about this all the time. I'm like, when you gonna undo? They have some great idea. I'm like, that's fantastic. When are you gonna undo Citizens United? What's Citizens United? You are at a loss. you gotta get the money out. You gotta get the money out because the money is playing in its own interest of whoever these dark shadow figures are. Right?
and that's where we need things. Whereas, hey, let's get rid of all the corruption. That, like, if you are found, probably
I'm
not.
gonna keep whispering it. You'll never get. Too many people are tied to it.
Fair
Too
enough.
many entities are tied to it.
Fair enough.
Like, it ain't just in D.C.
No.
Yeah, this CEO contributes this on the side. This one does. There's a backdoor deal over here. It's all, that shit is, and this ain't conspiracies. This is, because it comes out later. You be like, oh, we found out that such and such contributed $2 million to, you think he gave that $2 million from the sanctity and the spaces of the greatness of his heart? Absolutely
No,
not.
of course not.
He has access.
Of course
And when
not.
you have access, you have power. You dig?
But so that's why what if we remove all corporate tax, all income tax, and like I said, just put it on a
Flat.
no, like a sales tax. If a corporation, they need to purchase things, right,
Mhm.
in order to operate,
Mhm.
you have to pay a tax on that.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if you're paying it, if you're going to buy something, like, you can't write that off. Like, you can't duck out of it because like, if I'm buying from you,
Yeah.
I'm giving you the money. You have to pay the government.
Okay.
I can't come to you and say, yo, let me buy this car for you. Hey, I got a tax ID. Hey,
Yeah.
no taxes.
Right.
You'd be like, nah, because the government can come after you for that,
Yeah.
even because you let me slide.
I get it.
And so if we go that way, like, you wouldn't have to worry about it.
You'll never get it. And again, it's
Okay.
just in a perfect world, you're never gonna get it. You'll never get a flat tax. People have been talking about it for 30 years,
I
and
hope-
it makes I want you to understand it makes perfect seness.
I hope and pray you're wrong. You know.
Yeah, man, pray hard. Pray hard. You gotta talk to all the gods, because there's too many entities working against it. We will never get proper health care, even if you don't believe in a government option. We'll never even get proper health care. There's too many entities working against it. It's just too many. You'll never get it.
But
Our
healthcare,
mortality rate is going to continue to drop.
I think healthcare is your own personal to do. But
I know
but
you told me that. Yeah.
Yeah,
As our mortality rate just drops.
like that. Your health.
Infant mortality rate just dropping. We kill more babies because we don't spend more money. That's all it is. The science has been like people.
Yeah.
I told you I be having numbers. I've seen the math. We have a higher mortality rate with infants simply because we cut corners. It's that simple.
Probably
It
is.
is. I saw the math.
Like I said, I think it should be. You take care of your own health. Like if you eat a bunch of McDonald's, you're probably gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you eat a bunch of vegetables, you're probably gonna be lean. You know, that's what you put in your body. You know. Now, I did hear. I seen a podcast. The Brilliant Idiots. They actually presented an idea for the government to provide universal health care.
That's an option. But
And he said this is what they should do. Provide an incentive to the country to say for the government to do health care. And he said, like for instance, the country as a whole should have an average BMI of this number.
Go ahead. Are you trying to say it stole my idea on a podcast? Did you not hear me say, why don't we incentivize? I mean, not exactly, but I said we should
incentivize it. You did say we should incentivize it.
I'm being robbed. Stigmatize is they watching the podcast, doing it on their podcast because they're more popular. I said incentivize it.
Hey.
I said incentivize the doctors. I said that.
Yeah.
I said the doctors specifically.
Well, this one is incentivizing the people.
Yeah, right. But
Right.
I said, but pay the doctors less, right? Because doctors make a lot of money. Pay them less, but incentivize it through bonuses. So if you got Clever on there, and he had high cholesterol, he had high blood pressure, he had blah, blah, blah. If those numbers increase, depending on what decrease over the year, depending on where I landed, that gets you X amount of dollars. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Okay, podcast. We see y'all out here watching us. Click, like, subscribe, share.
Bingo. Heard it. Do it.
They should. That's a capitalist spirit. If
you
ask me.
It is. I mean,
Even though everybody want to make me a communist.
Partially capitalist.
Partially spirit. It's
Yeah.
not pure. The spirit. There's some incentives here for you.
Yeah.
There's a bonus structure here for you. There's a way to get more money.
Flipping to be even more pure capitalist with it.
All right, here you
Right?
go. Here you go.
This is where
Here you come, guys.
the insurance companies could incentivize you. Be like, yo, you want a lower rate? You get these rates based on these numbers. Okay, your cholesterol got to be here. And set tiers that this is what you're going to pay based on your health. And I'm talking about a pure, healthy person. When I say pure healthy, I mean they have no underlying conditions. Obviously, somebody with underlying conditions, they may have to pay a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because, hey, we know we're going to have to spend money for you.
Yeah.
Right? So, so if you're talking about a person, no underlying conditions, set these parameters, and the insurance company you meet these parameters, this is what you got to pay, less and less. So it incentivizes you to get healthy.
In a perfect world, because now we're talking about insurance companies, and they have one job and one job only, to not give you the money. I hate that it's like that, but that's their job. They don't want to give you the money. So
it's something else completely different.
All right, what's up?
Right? And this real controversial.
Oh,
right?
Here we go.
My thought on
Should
this.
I put on my black Batman voice or?
Probably. I say that racism is not a major issue in the United States. That is my stance.
Right on.
Oh, you agree?
Nah.
So let me.
Clever thinks racism is as American as apple pie.